Today, I'd like to react and respond, if you will, to JayzTwoCents deleting his review of the RTX 4060 Ti. I believe that he should keep it up and just to show exactly what it is that he did, or else when people go and look at his reaction or his explanation video, they're going to think it's worse than it was, or maybe something else was wrong. I was just thinking how his 4060 Ti video was the only one that called it a mid-range king, and I guess JayzTwoCents took down the video. So this is what he said. He just posted this.
Kind of giving a quick response to the 4060 Ti video, which obviously I've taken down, not because of the backlash, which I feel like the backlash is very warranted, because I don't feel like it aligned with my goals as the owner of this organization to help people make smart buying choices or smarter buying choices.
Now, I completely understand that, he had a surgery. Maybe he wasn't as involved with this video as before, but still the video went out and, thousands of people saw it. So it's definitely something that we have to address. I'm going to remind you guys of why. And there's one key point. A lot of people actually were a little bit mad at him because if you guys remember, when GPU prices were starting to go down a significant amount, he actually recommended that people buy a GPU now. This was with EVGA back before things like the 3090 Ti and all those GPUs started going to nearly half their price. If you guys remember, he recommended that people buy GPUs because the price was only going to go up. And then within a very short amount of time, the price went down a staggering amount. I have to look it up to see exactly what happened, but it was something like when the 3090 Ti had gone down to like 1500 something, he recommended people just buy it. There's not going to be anything better. And then within a very short amount of time, that GPU was like $1,099. So it went down in a short period of time, a significant amount. And I could see how people kind of lost trust with him because even other smaller YouTubers such as myself were telling people, don't buy because the GPUs are going down extremely fast. And that's what happened. Those GPUs had massive sales afterwards and they really became discounted. So here, his video, regardless if he was involved or not, it still kind of appears on his channel. And even in my own video of the 4060 Ti, before this video was pointed out, I actually watched it and I thought it was very different. And I even have my video that I talk about how all of the reviews were pretty negative for the 4060 Ti, including Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unboxed. But for some reason, his review called this GPU the new mid-range king, when even with his own benchmark numbers, sometimes you see the 3060 Ti above the 4060 Ti, and obviously the 3070 is performing better than the 4060 Ti. So what type of mid-range king are we talking about? For the people that saw that review and may only watch that and not watch a general scope of the market, they may think the 4060 Ti is the mid-range king. I mean, it's the newest GPU from Nvidia. So to me, that was like a hardcore Nvidia line. So whoever organized that and made that thumbnail and the title and the entire video, even if it wasn't him, if it was his team, the message there is still very alarming because this is not a mid-range king GPU. In fact, it's one that consumers should really avoid. So even if he wasn't involved with that, if that's the type of thinking that they have going on over there, then they're really going to be no different than just an extension of Nvidia's marketing arm. Now, he has criticized them in the past, of course. He's a big enough YouTuber that he can do that probably without fear of as much retribution as other smaller YouTubers may have a fear if they talk positively about Nvidia products. That's why I like to buy my own GPUs, so that way if it's a bad product, I'm going to be 100% honest and just either trash it or objectively, I say when it's a good product. Sometimes Nvidia has great products, they're the class leader, but recently they've had nothing but disappointing products that are very, you can say, anti-consumer, and they really pale in comparison to even what Nvidia gave us last generation. And obviously, competition is a huge problem. AMD has some GPUs, but they're not nearly with the same market share as Nvidia. So that's part of the issue that we have now. So I do feel bad for JayzTwoCents. I'm sure he deleted his video. He saw the backlash. Let's be honest here. If there wasn't the amount of backlash that there currently is against Nvidia, that's something that in normal times would just stay up, right? So that's my main problem with this. If the uproar wasn't so big right now that I'm sure he saw like hundreds of comments saying like, oh, this is either a bad video or you're wrong about this GPU. So that backlash was big. But imagine if the consumer wasn't well informed. That's why you guys need to watch a lot of different YouTubers, not just the large ones. That's why I always talk about the value and I talk about what potential things are wrong with Nvidia's business practices. See, right now, the public sentiment against Nvidia is high, so people are aware that they're getting bad products. But think of like previously when we were still getting bad products like the 4070 Ti, but the uproar was just starting to build. A video like this would easily just be lost in the mix and people would think it is the mid-range king, just like back in the day when they would talk positively about a lot of GPUs. But now, I don't think a lot of these big YouTubers realize how anti-Nvidia a lot of people are, and a lot of times it's for good reason. They're just getting shafted with very expensive products with very, very diminished specs. Like if you look at the hardware of a 4060 Ti, 128-bit memory bus compared to 256 of the 3060 Ti, it's all embarrassingly bad, and the numbers show up in the benchmarks. It's often not that much faster than a 3060 Ti, which is really very insulting. If at least they had some type of magic that the GPU was performing much better, even with the limited specs, we could oversee it. But DLSS 3 is not enough, especially not at 1080p, which this GPU is geared towards. So to respond to JayzTwoCents, it's something that never should have gone up. He should have a general feel of what's going on in the market. This isn't something that just happened last week. This has been going on all year, basically. And if it wasn't from like the uproar of you guys having comments and responding, maybe that video still would have been up in different times, and then people would get the wrong idea about a very flawed product. That's why I'm pointing this out as well, because it's the responsibility of influencers, as people call them, to correctly educate the public based on their best objective information. If they want to review these GPUs when they are good products in a positive light, nothing wrong with that. That's what a review is.
What I should have done is tried to be a little more involved in the overall statement that was going to be put into that video. That way I could review the data myself and give a more broader statement and picture of where the card lands. So I took the video down. There's plenty of trusted sources out there. We probably will not put up another video.
There are many great and acceptable GPUs out on the market that really, there's no reason not to say that they're great GPUs for the prices that they were. A lot of Nvidia's own stuff from RTX 3000 were priced really great and they performed well, but recently that hasn't been the case, and that's something that a big outlet like him definitely has to keep a finger on the pulse a lot better. This isn't just the last week or two of the releases. This isn't the 4070 even, or the 4070 Ti. This problem has been going on ever since the 4090 and RTX 4000 really were announced, with the 4080 on down. So it's been a very, very big issue, and that's why I fear if it wasn't for the consumers speaking up, that video would still be up and people would get the wrong impression. Absolutely every single other outlet seemed to more or less get it right with this GPU. The ones that are skirting around the issue, maybe they don't want to piss off Nvidia. That's something that happens too. I'm not saying it happens here. JayzTwoCents has talked, against Nvidia or criticized them in the past enough that, I don't think he's an Nvidia shill or anything like that. But having a video like this is not, journalistically responsible, I guess, if you put it that way, because it's giving the wrong idea of a product, which really is not the mid-range gaming king. In fact, there are probably 5 or 6 other GPUs, both from Nvidia and from AMD, like the 6700 XT, maybe Nvidia's own 3070 or 3060 Ti, which may present better values and almost the same performance, if not better, than something like the 4060 Ti. But otherwise, wish him a speedy recovery. This isn't like a criticism of him personally. I watch him myself as well. I always like water cooling and things like that. But it's definitely an issue that's come up, and people just have to pay attention to exactly what they're doing. The market changes every day. That's why it's valuable to subscribe to smaller YouTubers such as myself. I have the finger on the pulse, and I specialize in what's going on with GPU values. That makes a big difference than more general YouTubers like JayzTwoCents or Linus tech tips that maybe have other things going on, and they may really miss what's going on in the market pretty heavily, just like he did here. That's why I like to call out when I see things like this. Even though he did delete his video, who knows if he should have kept it up for people to see exactly what it is that he's talking about, or if deleting it is the right way. That really remains to be seen. But anyway, the 4060 Ti is definitely not the mid-range king, and that's why it's important to respond to this as well, so we just make everything clear for the consumer in a very confusing GPU market that it currently is now.